chapter 6 should be Cecilia's favorite chapter though, because it's Gilderoy Lockhart.
Her man's.
Yeah. There was some fun stuff in this chapter, but I mean, we've talked about this all the time before, but what are your guys' just general impressions of Gilderoy Lockhart? Like every time that you read him too, because I think my opinion changes of him. Like from the first time that I read him to every single time I read him now in these books. Like sometimes I love him; he's a really entertaining character, and sometimes I hate him because he's just gross. It just depends on the reading. But what do you guys think of him?
If I knew him in real life, he is like the epitome of what I hate. Like, I hate massive egos. Maybe it's because I'm jealous because I've got no confidence, but I hate people with huge egos. And I hate even more when people feed it. So I despise Hermione in this chapter where she's like, oh, he's so perfect. I'm like, Hermione, do better. But I agree with you. Like, my opinion as a character changes because now I can kind of, now that I'm less annoyed by him, I can kind of see the genius of the character as being so well written as that kind of person. You know?
It's almost like knowing him better after reading him so many times. It's like that annoyance almost becomes endearing.
Yeah.
Almost.
Yeah.
It's still annoying.
Yeah.
It's still
I like it from a satire point of view.
Right, exactly. That's what I
like.
Not in a real life way, because there's no way that in real life you could ever like this person.
Yeah.
At least I couldn't. I mean, I'm sure maybe there's somebody out there that could, but there's no way. Like he's like pompous, but like he takes it to another level.
I'm really curious how Slughorn would have treated Gilderoy Lockhart. Like had they been teachers together or something like that, would Slughorn have really loved Gilderoy, or would he have really seen right through him and been like, no, this guy's not really like, the cream of
I don't think there's any way you can't see straight through Gilderoy though.
Yeah, but I feel like Slughorn might. I feel like if there's anybody who wouldn't, maybe he would see right through him, but at least he would love his like ambition of like, I don't know, like Lockhart. Lockhart's a Ravenclaw, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm surprised he wasn't.
I'm so sorry about. We don't claim him.
Yeah, we don't take responsibility.
I am surprised that he's not a Slytherin because, like, while he's like, self-absorbed and he's like, maybe a brainy person, he just is ambitious. Like he's trying to obliviate these people, and I feel like Slughorn would be like, I don't like what you're doing, but I like your ambition. You're going places.
I think that's something like besides his pompousness that I hate the most is the fact that he like is trying to like actively take credit for other people's greatness.
Yeah.
And it's so infuriating. I'm just like, how dare you?
And not even do it well. That's what really annoys me about like people that are sorry, this is me just hi guys, welcome to therapy. What really annoys me about these people is that they're not even good at lying. Like at least be better. Like that's what annoys me. And as a Ravenclaw as well, like be better at your lies,
Yeah, honestly.
I don't know about Slughorn. If he had the hots for him, maybe. But
we're over here bashing. I want to hear Cecilia's point of view on this.
I think like Slughorn and it would have been funny if Slughorn and Lockhart had to fight over Harry's attention because they both.
That would have been great.
I didn't even think of it. It'd be like a tug of war.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I feel like, sorry.
No, I never had any like opinion about Lockhart. It wasn't like my favorite character at all. I think it's just like since listening to the audiobooks, like the way Stephen Fry does his voice is just excellent. Like I laugh every time he comes appears in the book now. So it's so funny. Like he's Harry. It's so funny. Like I love I read it. So
you listen to Stephen Fry. I want to know.
And he just makes the little like laughs as well, like the Harry. Like that was terrible. I don't do it justice. I'm not Stephen Fry as much as you may think I am. But yeah, Stephen Fry does it great. Because I was just listening to this chapter just now, and like when he was doing those little laughs, which obviously aren't written in, but they were so Lockhart.
Yeah.
It's just brilliant.
And it's interesting because he's so overblown that it makes him more of a sympathetic character. Like if he was sneakier, if he was smarter at hiding his, deceit, he'd be a pretty openly disgusting character. Like hard to like. Maybe like you could make him likable, but when you found out everything about him, he'd be like, this guy is reprehensible. But he's so overblown.
Wizarding World for a very long time.
Yeah,
So
I know, which is
it
crazy.
must be.
And I think about that too. Like I think through, maybe he just like had immediate success very quickly and like, you know, pumped out all these books in the matter of like 2 or 3 years. But it seems like he's been keeping this up for like
A
a
while.
decade, at least a
Mhm.
decade. Because how do you
Yeah.
pump out all these books? How do you like find these people, collect their stories? That's like a decade's worth of work. And it's
It would have
crazy.
almost been like less effort if he actually went and did those things.
Yeah,
Like,
honestly.
it seems like he's taking a really long rooted way to do something.
Yeah.
Like he thinks he's taking a shortcut, but really it's just like so much more elaborate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know. But yeah, I think you're
love
right.
how-
I think he would be so much more unlikable if he wasn't, if he was intelligent.
Yeah.
No, but I love how he, like, all the teachers are just like immediately irritated by him. Like there's none.
Yeah.
So
I know.
And that part to me is actually really interesting too, because they all immediately know he's a fraud. And even in this book, when we first start out, we kind of know he's a fraud. And like there's no, you know, niche theories where like, oh, you know, you're thinking, oh yeah, he really did this stuff. So if people know this quickly that he's a fraud, like what do they think he's, my question is, how do they not put this together? Like do they just think he's making this up and like it really is just fiction? Or like Dumbledore seems like the only one that actually understands that he's obliviating people and like stealing their stories. Maybe he's just doing such a good job that like, again, these people are like completely, they're doing this incredible work. But like if I'm like, you know, working in trolls and like I'm, you know, telling my family, hey, I'm gonna go out and study trolls for like 2 years, and all of a sudden I disappear and don't remember anything about me. And then all of a sudden this guy named Gilderoy Lockhart publishes a book called Travels with Trolls in the same location that I'm in, steals all like the, you know, the background. If I'm part of that family, I'm going, there's a little alarm bell right there. How has he not gotten
Yeah.
exposed earlier? That's shocking to me.
I think it's pretty privilege.
Yeah.
You can get away with anything in life.
That's such
Like-
a good point.
Because it's like all of the girls want him and all of
Yeah.
the guys want to be him, so he can just get away with it.
So they're just blind to everything else.
That is such
Honestly.
a phenomenal point. I had never thought about that until now. Really is.
To be honest, me neither. But like,
She's
it's
like
so
a-
true though.
Yeah.
It's so true. Like, if you're hot, you could just get away with things.
Yeah. It is crazy. What was that one guy? I don't even remember his name, but he was on the news for like, you know, murdering someone, and everyone is like, oh, he's just so attractive though. He has like tattoos all on his face, and everyone's like, he's just like the most attractive man. And I'm like,
Oh, I remember
he
that.
like
I remember
murdered.
that.
I think he murdered like a few
heinous
people.
crimes, and
Yeah.
everybody's like, "Oh my god, he's gorgeous."
Yeah.
I'm just like, y'all
Yeah.
are crazy. Yeah, y'all be ignoring them red flags like big
Yeah,
time.
I know.
Like, whoa. And you wonder why you have a terrible love life.
I know, yeah.
Uh,
I'm surprised more hot people don't like commit crimes.
yeah, seriously, I know.
Like,
Yeah.
might as well get away with it. People will applaud you for it, but like, oh,
Yeah.
you know.
Well,
So-
didn't they say who
They
was?
find a way to twist it to make you the good guy. Be
Yeah.
like, well, she
Yeah.
just, you know,
Who was the one serial killer that was apparently like really good looking, and everyone was like,
Jeffrey Dahmer.
Yeah.
Dahmer.
yeah, huh?
Jeffrey Dahmer.
Just
Ted
crazy.
Bundy.
Ted Bundy too. I think
Um,
was it
I-
Ted
I-
Bundy
I
too.
remember
Oh
watching
yeah,
the
Ted
series.
Bundy.
Oh, yeah. I just remember Dahmer because I just watched that series not too long ago.
Man,
Yeah.
It was
And
just
then like,
phenomenal.
Ted Bundy, they got what's his name, Zac Efron to play Ted Bundy.
That's
didn't
right,
they, in some
yeah.
point? Yeah.
Did they?
Yeah.
Haven't seen-
played was a bit maybe more attractive than the actual guy. If you Google the actual person he's depicting,
he's not really.
Yeah.
not
Is he not all that?
Maybe
Yeah,
it's
but
like
as
that.
soon as you kill someone, like,
I was gonna be like, it's
you
that
know?
bad boy thing, you know?
Yeah.
It just draws him in like flies. Like it's just
I think I mentioned it before with the Molly talk because it makes me understand why people follow Voldemort. It's because Ted Bundy was a serial killer, but women loved him. Like they would
Mhm.
dress up to his court cases like his victims. Like
That
the women.
blows
What
me
do?
away. I remember you mentioning that they were like, you know, putting on all the nice clothes and the nice like, you know, makeup and going to his. I'm like, that blows my mind. But
Mm.
I think it's
So
like a great commentary just on real life too, because that I mean, like obviously the Ted Bundy, Jeffrey Dahmer stuff actually happens where people like, you know, are still attracted to these people who are serial killers. But I'm like, I like the idea that someone like Hermione, who is, you know, the most logical person who shouldn't
Yeah.
fall into this trap, is falling head over heels for this guy and like is absolutely
Yeah.
in love with him and like memorize, you know, his favorite colors and his life's ambition. Like,
Yeah,
you
because
know,
I'm totally with Becky on that. I can't stand her in this chapter. I'm
yeah,
just like,
Really winds me up.
bruh, like stop.
She's better than this, or I thought
yeah,
she was better than
agreed.
this. And
I
it
know.
all logic goes out of her
But it
brain
goes
in
in
this.
with that whole beauty thing. Like she totally was just buying into it, you
Yeah.
know,
I
just
know.
because she had a crush, you know.
I guess like, oh, I don't know, it just really winds me up that you'd think that she would. Do you know what? I'd actually be less surprised if it was Ron that felt that way. Because obviously he wouldn't have the hearts for him, but I think he admires people that are admired. Do you know
Yeah.
what I mean? So, but for Hermione to be like that, oh,
Yeah.
just.
Honestly,
And then
that'd be hilarious if Ron actually did have the hots for Lockhart.
here's for the HBO
I
series.
know, right? I could kind of see that happening.
There's
Good
still a
too.
chance.
get
But
it
also
though.
he calls her. Oh, sorry, go on.
No. No. I said like I get the Hermione thing though. I mean
Yeah.
like
It's a teenage crush.
what is that? But I've had like stupid crushes before, like, and then afterwards you're like,
Yeah.
what do you think?
Yeah.
He thinks he's intellectual because he's written books,
That's a
and
great
also
point.
like Hermione falling in love or like having a crush on someone that has written a book rather than a sport like a Quidditch player or someone like that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I mean, she does have a thing for Quidditch players later, but you know, I like the
Yes.
idea that she's
Good Quidditch players,
yeah, good, very
specifically.
good Quidditch players.
but she's in her lesson, liking intellectuals.
Yeah.
So,
Because
cool.
she does have that innocence around her, so I'm sure that she doesn't necessarily think that this guy's a fraud yet. So she might just
That's
think he's like, you know, brilliant once you're attracted to that.
not like no.
Yeah.
Also, he says "good girl" to her, which is such an ick. Like, unless you're talking to your 5-year-old daughter, saying "good girl" is such an other
Or
than
like
that.
your
Like,
dog, you know, like good girl,
yeah,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know.
for some very specific, like prearranged circumstances, but like not to your student, like your teenage. Oh God, it's
yeah.
awful.
I always
Good
thought,
girl.
like, you know, like there was a teacher I remember when I was in high school, and like all the girls thought he was just so like just attractive, and I'm just like, this is weird. Like this man could be your dad, and you're over here like he's so cute, and I'm like, you're 14, stop it. Like it's just gross. I always thought that whole teacher student like, oh my god, he's so cute. Like no, please stop.
You never
Like
got
it's
into that, really?
I don't know. Like it just freaked me out a little bit. I just
Yeah.
think because like I don't know. I was always one of those people like I don't like to follow everybody else unless
yeah.
it was her.
Contrarian.
Like I just got sucked in and I couldn't resist. But like I think maybe I was just like because all the other girls were just like, oh, he's so cute. I'm just like absolutely not. Like no, stop it. Like it just made me uncomfortable. Like,
Mm.
and it was so weird because years later I'm at a bar. And I see that teacher and he starts hitting on me.
That's creepy.
No lie. This is a completely true story. And I was like, dude, I was in your 9th grade geography class. Stop it. Like, get away from me.
Yeah,
Yeah,
somebody
that's-
needs to call the police.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
He was
weird.
so
Yeah.
weird.
That's
It
crossing
was
some
so
lines.
weird. Like, me and my friends, we just left after that. I was like, I need to leave. This is so strange.
Yeah,
But
it's
yeah,
weird.
story time over. Yeah.
Crossing lines.
Actually,
That's
it happens.
gross.
Next chapter, the fact that Hermione, like she says to Harry that if he didn't do that stuff, like if he didn't really do the stuff in his books, Dumbledore wouldn't have
Yeah, that's a
like
great
hired.
point.
So her trust is in teachers, like in her superiors. You know, like she trusts them. So in her mind, like he's done all that. And it also shows her growth because in book 5, like she's like, no, I'm going to stand up to a teacher, which she would have
Yeah.
never done.
That's true,
So
yeah.
yeah, I think that like if she didn't have that trust in Dumbledore as well, like maybe she would have seen it maybe earlier.
Even like
So-
just like not even just in Dumbledore, just like her trust in like the system. Like
Yeah,
Just in authority, like early days, she really had trust in authority. And yeah, like Cecilia said, that kind of switches later on, and that's a good character
Like
shift.
even in Prisoner, like when she like walks out of divination, she's like, no, like I know my mind and I know this is not for me and I'm out, you know?
Yeah.
That's interesting because
No, she's
everyone,
learned to question things.
and everyone talks about how Lockhart is brought in like specifically to help Harry, but I never really thought about how much he helps Hermione too. And maybe like Dumbledore Dumbledore obviously knows he's a fraud, so maybe he brings this guy in to like teach all the two students a lesson about, fame and like,
Authority.
authority figures and
Like question authority, like
yeah,
just
seriously.
question. Always ask questions, never stop asking questions.
It's like,
just because a person is in a position of authority doesn't mean that they are the end all be all, you know?
I love that lesson. I think it's great. I think it's so
No, I
great.
think it's great too. That's a really good point. I never thought of it that way.
Because it's even like I used to teach a little bit, and like every teacher has like their pet peeves or idiosyncrasies or something like that, but I never liked when people called me like Mr. first. I was like, I don't know why, but I'm like, I feel like there is just a general respect that you want to give teachers and people who are like your elders or whatever, but I feel like some of that stuff should be earned, and I feel like Lockhart doesn't do enough to earn it at this point. And like I feel like all the teachers, and Dumbledore's constantly reminding Harry's like, oh, it's Professor Snape, make sure you respect him, but Snape hasn't done anything to earn his respect. So I'm like, it shouldn't, like, that's a title of respect that you give someone, and Snape really hasn't done anything to earn that. So I feel like there's like a combination of you have to earn it, but you always just want to give people respect and give people the
I think that's the thing our generation kind of sees more than like previous generations, because previous generations, like, you always respect your elders and people of authority no matter what. It's like a blanket thing and it's to be expected. And it's kind of like our generation's like, no. Like I don't think that that's the way that should be, just because that's the way it's always been doesn't mean that that's the way it should be. So
I know my mom always talks about, like, when she was younger, she'd refer to her friends' parents as Mr. and Mrs. whatever. And I've never done that. I've never known anybody that's done that. It's always just been first name. And like, I think, and if we lived next to an older woman who was like, 90, and we called her Mrs. whatever, because, but like, other than that, I just don't think you can be respectful to people without creating a sort of hierarchy. Where, like, obviously be respectful to everybody, like not just your elders. And like, if you're a child, obviously be polite and stuff. But like, I don't think creating this natural hierarchy by saying Mr. and Mrs. from an early age, like, I don't know, sends a good message. But that,
yeah, I don't either.
Like a cultural thing, because I actually listened to an Afrikaans podcast the other day about Afrikaans people that can't, like, we call like older people Tannie or Oom, which is like Tannie is the female, Oom is the male. But like, I was like brought up like that. If I meet anyone, like even if I've known them for years and years and years, I can't call them by name, like feel weird. Like we don't say Mr. Meneer is Mr. and Mevrou is like Mrs. We don't, but we say Tannie and Oom. And I actually listened to an Afrikaans podcast, and they were like saying, are Afrikaans people like so conservative that they have this like way built into them that it shows disrespect if you don't say Tannie or Oom to like people that are older than you. And also like titles, like, because I work with doctors, so I can't call a doctor by their name. Like if they maybe, like maybe if they're the same age as me, like I'll say call my name, but like I'll always say like, hi prof, hi doctor, whatever. And my sister actually commented on it the other day, because she lives in Europe now, and she's like, it's such a South African Afrikaans thing to call people by their titles, because they don't do it in Europe. And I'm like, it's so weird. So like the Baxter thing is not like weird for me. Like I would feel bad if I don't call them like Professor Uenu or or like doctor or whatever.
I think that's a good point. I just think Lockhart doesn't really do anything to like earn that. You just automatically start calling him professor, or like, you respect him to some extent. But like,
But if he's not teaching you anything, then how can you,
exactly,
with
yeah.
honesty, call him a professor?
Yeah.
Like,
You're not doing anything.
I think he doesn't teach me anything. He's in that title position. I can't like not call him professor.
yeah. Yeah, I think he's a fascinatingly written character. I think he's on the front he seems like he has no depth, but really he's got like a lot of darkness to him and a lot of like intrigue. I think he's a lot more deep of a character than we kind of give him credit for.
yeah.
I loved meeting him again in Order.
Yeah, that was wild.
So
That was
good.
one of my
crazy.
favorite parts of Order.
Yeah.
That was, and again,
oh.
as like a movie, I was supposed to say movie reader, a movie watcher first.
Mhm.
When I first came across that in the books, oh my God, I was delighted. I was like, this is so, sorry, we're
It was
not
just nice to
nowhere
like
remotely close to there, but
see
like,
like
that was
what
such an
happened to
exciting
him.
moment.
Like after
Yeah.
everything happened, I was just like, oh, that's so cool that she like didn't forget about the character. Like she,
Yeah.
And the best part is like Harry recognizing his smile first, and then like, oh, it's Lockhart.
That's right. I forgot about that.
Yep.
That was so good.
Yeah. What else did you guys see in this chapter? Anything else good?
The Howler.
Yeah, I love that.
Ugh. It's such a great concept. Like your kid's at boarding school. He does something he messes up royally and you're still able to chew his butt out. It's fantastic.
In front of his friends. Yeah.
Oh, that's the best too. It's that level of embarrassment that really like, I don't know, as a parent, like sometimes like you need to embarrass them for it to stick. And I know that sounds terrible, but man, kids, they're like rubber, okay? You say stuff to them sometimes and you can see it bounce off. It don't sink in. Like, so I think sometimes that little level of embarrassment kind of really makes them like get them wheels turning, like, okay, like the lesson really sticks without like being like mean about it. Like, I don't know. I remember being embarrassed as a kid just from my brothers or just my parents and like learning lessons. And I'm just like, if I remember that and it was 30 years ago, like, and I'm fine. Like, I'm not traumatized by it, but it's like there's certain lessons in childhood that you just have to learn. And sometimes some kids learn things the easy way and some kids don't, It just depends on the person, but I love this. I love it so much. Like I laughed so hard. And they did it in the movie so well. They portrayed it perfectly.
And Ron's face in the movies. Oh, Rupert Grint's facial expressions.
I love his faces.
So good.
They're the best. Like they're the best.
They're
from
unmatched.
movie one. He's just like the best of the child actors.
I think that's part of the reason they said that they cast him is because they'd never seen that face before. Like his facial expressions and like he is Ron.
I could like name moments in every movie where I like will stop watching it with people and be like, just look at Ron's face in this moment. There's so many good moments where he's just like got such a good facial expression.
I know.
Have you watched the honest trailers for the Harry Potter movies before?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they comment on Ron's face like every
yeah.
So good.
It's
That
so
would
funny.
actually be so embarrassing. Like he's gonna wake up with night terrors, like hearing that playing for years. Like it's like, oh, that would just be so embarrassing.
It's one of those memories like I'm sure everybody has a memory of something that they did as a kid that was like just mortifying. And like even now, years and years later, you think of it, you're just like, oh, like you're like mortified all over again. Yeah. I have multiple memories like that.
I love the Howler too because it does give you those feelings of like, you're in trouble as a kid and your parents come and like ream you out, and like you're reading this chapter and you want to throw up like you did when you were a kid. You're like you just get so nauseous and anxious and like, oh, that feeling that you had when you were a kid when you were in trouble. Oh, nothing worse than that.
So great.
Yeah.
I love it. I love Molly Weasley as a mom. I love how like she's so loving, but you also don't cross her. Like she would literally like kill for you, but
she does
literally, but like I said, don't cross her. And I strive to be a mom like Molly. Like, I want you to know that I love you intensely, but don't play with me. Like,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah.
I'm outnumbered, so it's hard. And she is way outnumbered, so I totally
Yeah.
understand. Like, if I
And
think I'm
way shorter than them as well. Like,
no, I know.
yes.
Like, she's tiny. She's dealing with these teenagers, and I've got small children. Okay, so what I'm having to deal with right now is nothing to what I will probably, hopefully, not have to deal with in the future. But I can only imagine having to parent a teenager who's like a foot taller than you. Like, you
They
have
can
to
do
kinda-
magic.
Yeah.
yeah, that can do math. Exactly. Yeah, no, that totally. This is like a whole other element to it. You know, like, I love Molly Weasley as a mom. Like, she's just, oh, she's like the best written mom in my opinion. Like, I just love her so much. And then
Yeah.
Arthur is just the dad that's just, they're just the best parents
Yeah,
ever. I
they're
just love them.
great. They're a great couple too.
And I love
Yeah.
they've got little muggle names as well.
Yeah. I
Molly
know.
Wobbles. I love that they're like, they have all these kids and like they've been married for centuries, but like they still like are like affectionate with each other, like,
Yeah.
you know, the little Molly Wobbles. And I'm just like, oh my God, y'all are so cute. It's, yeah, I know. It's so funny.
Yeah, they're such a
Cecilia,
good
were you
couple.
Cecilia, your sound quality is like kind of bad, so I feel like by the time we've heard that you started talking, something else is happening. Were you trying to say something there?
I know, I feel bad.
I feel like I keep interrupting you, but I don't hear it until I've already started rambling.
And you've got two ramblers. Like, I ramble as well, so it's sorry.
I like the idea that the howlers as well are like you have to open them. Like, it's inevitable that this thing's gonna, if you
Like,
don't, it's gonna explode. Like, the anger of this person is so much that it will open the letter itself and embarrass you. Because I'm like, anytime I get like an audio message from someone, I'm like, oh great. Like, wait till I'm like, you know, away, like by myself so I can listen to this. I hate audio messages. And like, I'm like, my phone had something where like someone was mad at me and they sent me an audio message and it was like forced to play it. That's like the height of embarrassment, especially as a kid.
Imagine
You're
if you're
sitting
in
with
a-
all your friends. Oh my gosh.
Oh, no.
I must say, like, audio messages, when my mother sends me an audio message, because they started doing voice notes now as well. Sometimes I do voice notes just because I'm lazy to type. But yeah, so when my mother does voice notes, oh, it's hilarious. Because he doesn't like, oh no, I can't even explain it. It's just like, it's so, like, it's a whole performance for her.
Yeah,
you know? Like,
it's kind of endearing when someone like that does it. Yeah.
It was like when my dad used to send me text messages and he would always put at the end of the text messages like, love dad, like he's writing a letter.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I know it's from you, Dad. It says
Yeah,
your name.
it's so cute.
But he would also text like this.
Yeah.
So like with his glasses on his nose because he can't see nothing. No. Old people.
I don't know if it's
It's so
thing.
cute.
But we get like, so like with our telephone contracts, we get the thing called a please call me. So it's like a free message that you can send. So it's like you send to someone, please call me. And then later on they made it so you can personalize it. So there's like a little, so please call, and then you can personalize it with your name or whatever. Like, and then you would write like messages. So when we were in school, we used to do that because it didn't cost any money. So you used to get unlimited, but now you get like 10 a day or whatever. And so we would always send like my dad to please call me if he has to like phone us. But then later on, like we would send him like a text message and he would just see that on his phone it would say one message received, and he would thought it was a please call me. And he's like, don't like send me please call me, just phone me. I'm like, I didn't send you a please call me. I sent you like a whole message. Open the message and read it. So he would always think that if it says one message received, it's a please call me. So I'm like, no, that's not how it works. Yeah.
It's so funny. What else was in here?
What do you guys think about Colin Creevy?
He's cute and annoying. He's like cute and annoying in a way. You know, like he's totally innocent. He's just like, I imagine myself in Harry's position and be like, just go away.
Yeah.
But then I could
I
also
said-
imagine myself in Colin's position. Like I can see
Yeah.
myself like I'd be so annoyed by him, but also wouldn't you be so excited if you were like a little budding photographer and then you found
Yeah.
out that now you're in a place that the pictures can come to life.
Yep.
Wait till he discovers videos. His
Oh my gosh, he's
mind
gonna
will be
lose his
blown.
mind. I know. That's why.
Scene where he takes the scene where he takes like pictures of Harry, and then he asks him if he will like autograph it, and then Lockhart shows up. He's like,
Mhm.
"Oh, well, we autographs," and it's like, take a picture, and he takes a picture with Harry. Oh, it's so funny. Like that's hilarious.
This is the book where
But-
Harry is always in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Oh,
Like he
definitely.
cannot evade it. He's like in the worst spots imaginable. But
No.
I think Colin's like such an interesting character to me too, because he seems like a Dobby kind of annoyance. Like he's like a little pesky kind of weird character. But then he has like, you know, so much. I love his, like, Harry has kind of gotten used to the wizarding world at this point, and then all of a sudden we get another character who comes in who is like even more amazed than Harry was at the wizarding world, and like it just doesn't fade for this kid. He is so excited by everything that's happening. He's like taking pictures, and he's like so thrilled that he gets to, you know, go make these things come to life. Even in the next book, when his brother falls into the lake, and his brother like is so excited that like he fell into the lake because that he felt the giant squid, and like Hagrid's coat was put around him, and his brother was so excited that like he fell into the lake. It was like, he is one of those characters that I continually love because it reminds me to like a little bit of myself, and like the excitement that you feel over some of these things. And I love it because it just doesn't fade for him. It doesn't seem to fade for him. Like, you know, he gets mature, he gets older, but like he still has this like naive, innocent excitedness to him.
And this
And
appreciation for Hogwarts that,
yeah,
like, you know, wizard-born wizards don't have. And,
exactly.
like, you know, even Hermione doesn't really have it too much because she's really studied and she sees it from a logical point of view, whereas Colin
Yeah.
Creevey is just like, this is so good, this is so exciting, I can't believe this is happening, oh my god, everything. So it's like, he's annoying because we see it from the point of view of Harry,
Hmm.
but as a character, as a standalone character, he's just relatable.
Yeah,
Like,
so relatable.
completely relatable. If the
It's like
books
that.
were around him, you know, we'd all love him. You know?
Yeah. They'd be so
like
ADD though. They'd be like going to one class, going to another class, just talking about all the things he's obsessed with and all the things that he's interested in.
Oh, it'd be so good.
And he also shows up all the time, but he's like that office meme where Dwight is, and then he looks around, and then Angela stands next to him, and then he like cries. He's like that.
That's such a good
Like all the
description.
Like he's everywhere.
Yeah, he
Like,
really
so-
is.
Just like they show up everywhere.
He really is everywhere. He's great.
Oh,
He's very
poor
sweet. I
Harry.
wish we had a conversation because he's like, oh, they told me everything about you. Like I want to hear the conversations of them telling Colin about Harry. Like, you know,
I just think it was like a full like fangirl. Like he's just like, he's like always like I said, he knows everything, and he's just I've completely lost my train of thought.
you know. But
I
he's
think I like.
very
It
he's
just left.
gassy. He actually goes up to Harry to talk to him. I mean, like not
Yeah.
everyone
Oh,
fangirls
no,
about
I'd
someone.
never do that with especially somebody I think is a celebrity. There's no way. I would be so embarrassed.
Mhm.
I have never been one of those people that could go up and like ask for an autograph. You go do it for me. I can't. Like I can't. I will freeze.
No.
I will feel so awkward. Because I feel like with celebrities, like even if I really do want their autograph or I want something like that, like I feel like it's almost an intrusion of their privacy.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. It's just so embarrassing. So yeah,
I
you gotta
literally,
give
like,
it.
if I'm ever like working with somebody that's like because in film school you're basically told don't like fangirl at all on set, you won't work again.
Mhm.
But I've
Yeah.
gone the complete opposite way. So when I'm working with somebody that's famous, I won't even like look at them in the eyes to the
Yeah.
point where they probably think I'm rude. And I'm like, oh hi, you know, okay,
That
cool,
would
yeah,
be
let's go.
me.
And it's
Yeah.
like oh god, it's bad, and I really need to find a middle ground because these
love
people
that.
probably think I'm so rude, but I'm
They're
just to the point where I'm like, all right, okay, let's go. Like,
In
Ask the
reality,
celebrity
you're just.
for autograph.
Oh no, go ahead.
Like anyone has anyone ever asked a celebrity for a photo
No.
or an autograph?
I don't
I've
even look at
seen-
them.
I've seen several because
Mm.
I used to work at a hotel downtown in San Antonio. I worked there for about 5 years, and it was like the 4-star, like bougie, real bougie. I could never afford to be at this place type of hotel. And I remember I was there for 2 weeks. I was 20 years old. John Travolta walks in, y'all. I'm like, holy crap, Danny Zuko just walked into the cafe. Because I love Grease. And inside my brain was like, oh my God. And outside I was like, I froze. I didn't know what to do. I remember he asked for wheatgrass and I was like, we don't have wheatgrass. Like, I didn't know what to do. But no, I could never. I've seen them and I saw several, but I just I did like Becky did. Like I just acted like they were like they didn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
Like they weren't there. Just to show how like cool and non-fangirl I was, you know?
Yep.
Yeah, no, it was awful. We'll never forget that. I felt so awkward.
What about you, Cecilia? Do you have any autographs?
So, I mean, we're in South Africa, so where are we going to get celebrities here? So, we
Lost to the
were at a
Lion King.
we were at a restaurant. This was a long time ago, and the band Bastille, they were like doing a tour in South Africa. So they were actually the night before their concert, they were in a pizza restaurant in Cliff Street, and they were sitting like the table next to us, and we're like, oh shit, like we need to like ask them for a photo. And then when we were like a group, so we were like too shy. So we asked our waiter, but he was like quite like an old man. So we asked the waiter, like, can you ask that table is like Bastille, like the famous band. Can you ask them if maybe afterwards we can get like a photo with them? And he's like, yeah, they're a band. And we're like, yes. So he went to the table behind them.
No.
You're a famous band. Can that table get a autograph and a photo? We're like, no, them, this table. So we made like complete fools of ourselves. So they were very nice. I mean, they the main band, like the lead singer, was actually born in South Africa, so he was like, yeah, sure. And then afterwards we had like a group photo with him, and they were very nice. But like we were like, no, like standing up in our chairs, like screaming at the waiter going to the wrong table. So yeah.
I've heard that like most celebrities are pretty like nice about it as long as like you're polite and you're not like pushing boundaries and like you're not just like being rude about it. But God, I can't imagine that life. Like I don't
loads of sorry.
I think we can all start at the same time.
We're all not going to talk. But apparently, like loads of celebrities holiday in the west of Ireland because nobody cares. Like if you're in the countryside of Ireland and you just go into a local pub, they don't care who you are as long as you're willing to like have a laugh, pull a pint, like you know. So a lot of like celebrities go and record albums or like just holiday there. And Beyonce said that one of her favorite times on holiday was when she was in Dublin and she was just cycling around the park.
And
she was like,
oh.
She was like, people were just like, hey, and she was like, it was the most free I'd felt since becoming famous.
Yeah. I don't think I could ever be like super famous. I think I would like to want to try to become famous without people realizing like what I look like or knowing what I look like. So like, I love the anonymity. Like I like people not knowing who the hell I am. Like it's great. I don't want to be known. And like my partner, he is one of those people, he's like, I would love to be famous. And I'm just like, no, I don't, I want to be rich.
Yeah.
I don't want to be famous.
Much rather be rich rather than famous.
I will take the money.
Sure.
Take the money. you can keep that fame part. No, thank you.
I know. Hate it.
That's one thing I like about like, what was that?
Friends.
Yeah.
So they can take notes.
Exactly.
He plays in Twisted, Glen Powell, I think, or something. I know they're like shooting a movie in Cape Town at the moment, and we were all like, maybe we should find out where they're shooting.
Like we're gonna go stalk somebody today.
It is kind of fun to it is kind of fun to find some of that stuff. Like Danny used to be he used to go try to be extra in different movie sets. So like anytime there was like a call for like, you know, extras, he used to like run to New York City and try to like, you know, just jump on set. And he had a few movies that he's like in the background of. It's like
he'd be like, pause it, like wait,
yeah. Literally, it's like you pause it in a massive crowd of like 100 people, and he's like, that little speck right there, that's me. He's got a few of those.
That's great.
But
that's funny that you mentioned, because that I don't know if anybody's heard of that show 1923. It's like that spinoff of Yellowstone with Harrison Ford. But they're filming I think my partner said they're filming somewhere in San Antonio like next month or next week. I don't know, sometime soon. I don't keep up with that crap. He keeps up with that crap. I keep up with the weather. Like, so, but yeah. I don't know. He was even thinking like, I want to see if like maybe they like, need extras. And I'm just like, you are gonna stand out like a sore thumb. You're like 6'4". Like you're gonna like everybody here is short. Like they're not gonna want you. I'm sorry.
Have you guys ever seen Impractical Jokers?
Yes.
They have the one scene that's my favorite that always pops up on social media where they're in the supermarket and the one guy is like, oh, I used to be like a superhuman athlete. And he like, you know, said what his name was. And then all like three of them, they were in the back and they're like, okay, we're going to like make this guy feel great. So the first guy walks by and he's just like, he sits back and he like acts like he recognizes the guy from YouTube. And he's like, you're this guy. He's like, you're the superhuman athlete. He's like, I see your videos on YouTube all the time. And the guy's like, no way. He's like, no one's ever recognized me in public. And then the next guy comes and does the same thing. And then they have three other guys come by and like recognize this guy. And I'm like, I love that where like, you know, some guy's kind of famous and they kind of sit back and recognize him. Like, I think
nice.
I like the idea of like making celebrities feel cool like that because I'm sure they get this all the time. And then celebrities, I like when they're kind and nice and they make other people feel good, like or like just have a good interaction with them, positive interaction with them.
I love hearing stories about celebrities that are just like nice. Like
yeah, seriously.
It's just so wholesome and it makes me like, I don't know, I get a little bit more like faith in like the human race in a way.
And it's just it's like, weird too.
I really do think that for the most part, most people are decent. It just sucks that there's like those people out there that just ruin it for everybody else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you could definitely tell like Lockhart loves the idea of fame.
Totally.
And it's weird because he's a generally nice person around people. Like they're probably all having positive interactions around him because he's so like, you know, self-obsessed and he's like very into himself. So I think that's kind of like fascinating, but I like the idea that Colin Creevey here seems to be more obsessed with Harry Potter than Gilderoy Lockhart. And I like that gets under Gilderoy Lockhart's skin. Like he keeps saying like, he's like, oh, you know, you're not quite as famous as me. Like in his head, Gilderoy Lockhart knows that Harry Potter is more famous than him.
But like, does he?
Yeah, I know.
No, he's delusional.
Yeah, maybe he's that delusional.
He's totally delusional. Totally. Yeah. I really do think that he really, in his true heart of hearts, believes that he is way more famous than Harry Potter.
I'm kind of with you. Which is a level of delusion that is absurd.
It's great. I love it.
Yeah. All right. Anything else in this chapter?
I do love like when they're in the greenhouse and they the tentacular, like she says, like stay away from it. It's like teething.
It's
and it like shoulder.
Yeah.
I think that's such a nice, like funny thing to add.
Yeah.
Like that the plot.
I love those little details that she adds into this. It kind of brings everything kind of to life and it fleshes it out and it makes it so much more like real and believable. Like this is a real place that you could actually go to, you know, because she does include those little details. I love that part. I always forget about those kind of like those little parts until I read them again.
And they're like treating of the Whomping Willow after the accident, like that it's in slings and stuff.
Yeah,
so that's
I love that.
Poor thing, makes you feel bad for it. It humanizes it.
Yeah. And like loving plants too. That's like one of my favorite things. Like this, whoever like Sprout is, she is so obsessed with plants. She loves them so much. She's like putting this thing in slings, like making sure like the thing is taken care of. I'm like, it's extreme.
On the other side of that though, like the mandrakes, like they're waiting for them to grow up to a certain age so they can chop them up and stew them.
Yeah, that is a valid point.
I'm just like, this is, and it never really occurred to me as a kid. I was just like, oh, I just took it as it, you know, but like as an adult, I'm like thinking about it. I'm like, that's kind of creepy.
Yeah, that is,
you know.
Yeah. Especially when they say like, oh, when they start like developing acne and going into each
or then they
other's
try to so there's pots. I thought that was hilarious. I'm like, they're trying to get it
these are actual like conscious beings that are going through pupuberty.
And we're gonna
go through puberty, they're gonna chop them up
and stew them, and then you know.
But
like
movies like in the illustrated version of the books, they like very ugly. I'm like, okay, I get it.
Yeah,
I've seen some ugly babies in my life, but I don't want to chop them up.
Well,
They're
here's
so gross.
we gotta have a theory.
It-
Maybe
that's
they when they hit a certain age, they start getting offshoots or something like that, and those are like not conscious creatures. So maybe
Well,
they
imagine-
chop those up rather than like the actual.
We're trying to
thing itself,
morally justify this. So that's,
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's also a
What
moment
was-
in this chapter where the students transfigure animals into objects.
yes, I always thought that was really weird too. I'm like, that poor.
Yeah.
And I always thought that maybe like the reason why Ron's rat would never like cooperate is because it wasn't actually a rat. It's
There
a
were
person.
scabbers, yeah.
Mm,
You know?
Yep.
for sure.
And
I don't
maybe Ron really wasn't a bad wizard after all. He had a bad
Right.
wand. He was trying to transfigure his rat. Nothing really worked.
He's trying to transfigure a rat who's already been transfigured.
Mhm.
Wrap your brain around that.
But yeah, it's weird. Creature treatment in this chapter is surprisingly strange. They're transfiguring
Yeah,
things.
the
and
tree. They give a sling to
Yeah,
the tree,
yeah.
but they chop up the just
The
after
mandrakes,
puberty
yeah.
baby things. So like, the ethics in Hogwarts is just not
Yeah.
there.
It's all
The
over the
ethics in
place.
just the whole wizarding world is questionable at best sometimes. But I think that's kind of like it mirrors like our world in a sense because there's a lot of ethics in our world that are questionable too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, but I mean they've got like what 3 things that you can't do in the wizarding world. Yet Harry's done all of them. Like
Yeah.
just the 3 spells. There should be more than 3
Yeah.
spells
Oh
that
my
are not
gosh.
legal. Yeah.
Yeah.
oh,
That,
this isn't totally like an American like thing, but I saw the word spellotape. I just realized like 2 years ago that y'all call it sellotape, and that's the reason why she called it
oh, no
spellotape.
way. I didn't even know that.
You not
was
say
like,
sellotape?
no, we say it's just Scotch tape
Yeah, Scotch tape.
because it's
Well,
the name.
sellotape is the brand name, but it's kind of like Hoover,
Nope.
Oh, like
don't know
a-
what
like a
that's about.
vacuum, like
Oh,
a
the
vacuum
vacuum.
cleaner.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, they
You
call
not
it
say
Hoover. Yeah.
Hoover?
We
No,
guys
they call
call
it
them vacuum
vacuum
cleaners. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
It's
it's
so
like they're the
funny.
original brand names, and people still just call it sellotape.
Yeah.
Oh,
But
okay.
I never
didn't know
realized that. Because at first, when the first time I read them, I was like, spellotape. I'm like, what the heck is spellotape? And then, like, a couple years ago, I heard somebody, like a British YouTuber or something, call it sellotape because she was wrapping Christmas presents. And I was like, that's Scotch tape. It totally makes more sense now. And it just, like, clicked.
I love
So
that.
I think it's great. I love it. All the little differences.
I love that. She's a good
Yeah.
writer. Throwing all these things
Totally
together.
random. Sorry. I just totally squirreled. Sorry.
No, that's interesting because I had no
My
idea you
ADHD
guys
is
didn't
showing.
say.
I just literally saw it and I totally changed course. I'm so sorry.
I just had no idea that you guys didn't say sellotape.
Mm-mm.
You learn
Just
something new every day.
Scotch tape. Yeah.
Anyway,
I love
What were we
that. That's a good little tidbit there.
sorry.
Any last bits before we hit our favorite lines?
I don't have a favorite line. I didn't get that far in the process.
You can
I'm
just,
trying to find my favorite line.
You can just say someone else's line is your favorite. There's a few fun ones in this one. I like Lockhart. He says, I mean, a few people have heard of you, haven't they? All that business with he who must not be named. He glanced at the lightning scar on Harry's forehead. I know. It's not as quite as, good as winning Which Weekly's Most Charming Smile Award 5 times in a row, as I have. But it's a start, Harry. It's a start. I like Lockhart is a creeper. He's like trying to take Harry under his wing for his fame, but like I think that line is so funny, where he really thinks he's that delusional that he thinks he's more famous than Harry Potter for winning Which Weekly's Most Charming Smile Award 5 times in a row, which is a pretty good accomplishment. But
if you'd actually earned it.
I know.
I don't have the exact quote, but I liked the one where I think around the same time as that, where he's like, "Oh well, we started out at the same when I was your age, except some people have heard of you."
Yeah.
I think that was just before the line you said.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yep.
Mm.
It's a great one. I also
Mine is where Ron says to Harry, better hope Creevy doesn't meet Ginny on the start Harry Potter fan club.
That's a great one. I know.
Good, yeah.
That line is actually the thing that made me think when the very first time I read the books was like, maybe there are Harry Potter fan clubs out there, like for real in real life. And so every time I read that line, I think about when I like that realization came to me because I was like 12. I was like, maybe they have actual Harry Potter fan clubs because this was before it like right before it like blew up. And I remember finding the unofficial Harry Potter fan club online on my ancient computer, and it took about 3 years for each page to load. It was like it was like entering a new world.
I love that.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't know. I can't think of a favorite line
It's
right
okay.
now. I'm not gonna lie. I did not read this chapter beforehand. I've just read them so many times that I'm relying on my
you just
past
know.
to get me through this.
That's usually what happens with us.
Sorry.
We're all people who have read this like 20 times. So like, you know, when we do these chapters, we just like, you know, take a file out of our brain. Okay, it's this one, you know.
I kind of just like skim it a little bit, and the illustrated editions kind of help because it's like visual reminders, and so I'm like, oh, okay, that's what happened this chapter. Okay. So
I've just gotta hope that John's done his homework and has some killer prompts, and then it will all come back to me.
He's the only reason that we stay on task. Like, we will go off on tangents.
But I love the tangents are the best part. The tangents are the best part.
If you weren't here, we'd currently be going off on some kind of rant about, I don't know,
in Antarctica right now.
Purple flowers or something. I don't know. Something random.
Literally. Yeah.
That's what I love. The rants are the best part of some of these podcasts. It's like they're my absolute favorite parts. So no harm.
Oh, but once you get me on a rant that I'm passionate about, it's hard to shut me up. I can go
That's
from
why
like
I want a tamale talk with Becky. Like, I want to see what happens.
I know.
I want to see like which, like, you know.
John would end up logging off and just leaving me on a 24-hour rant.
That is my MO, guys. That's like what I made the video about, though. Like, I love people that are obsessed. Like, so when we're talking about this stuff, we love it, but it, like, you know, leapfrogs us into different things that we're obsessed over. And I could literally sit and listen to someone talk about their obsession for hours. I think it's like my favorite thing ever.
It is fun, and it's like satisfying to listen to somebody talk about something that they love so much because it almost infects you with that same type of like.
Yep.
Even if it's something I've never seen before, like their passion for it makes me want to get interest, like learn more about it, you know?
Like you guys will probably remember because you're like OG fans, but Abby, who was originally supposed to be season 2, she ended up reading it not because I convinced her, but because her like best friend, one of our best friends, loves it as equally, if not more than I do. And she always was like, Abby was always like, I want to know why she loves it so much. Like and that one friend said that you can't really know her to like a full extent until you've read Harry Potter. And Abby was like, I would love to like, you know, dive into this and see. So it's just infectious. Like, if you love something, if you love something, you want to like share something that they love. And I think that's so incredible.
Oh, so nice.
I make so many like comparisons to like Harry Potter. If I'm giving my friends advice, I'm like, so it's kind of like that one time when so-and whatever. And to my friends that know and love Harry Potter, they're like, Becky, do you know what? Actually, that makes so much sense. I understand it. Because my friends that don't know Harry Potter, they're like, what? Why are you comparing me to like a giant?
That's me and my partner because he is not a book guy. He's a sports guy.
Ew, so, dump him. No.
Oh, gosh. I'm trying to convert him. He's trying to convert me. We're losing on both sides. Like, I love certain sports. Like, I love basketball, but he's like really into NFL right now, and I could literally care less. He's like, you know what day it is? And I'm like, football. Yeah. But like, I'll do the same thing with him. I'll sit there and make like, oh, it's kind of like this time and this and Harry Potter, and he's just like, I can literally see him tune out.
Yeah.
Sorry,
I have to watch.
It's a little human. Sorry.
It's okay.
I tried to watch Friday Night Lights because I never watched it. But like, I get football. Like, I don't get it. So I'm like, okay. I turned it off.
Well, that's me with like rugby and cricket. I love the idea of it, but I don't understand the rules. So like, if I watch it, everything, I'm like so overwhelmed. I don't know anything that's going on. But I like the idea.
Rugby is like, I guess, like football, but they don't stop even if they've got a concussion.
Yeah. They're a lot tougher. They're a whole lot tougher.
And they don't have any like stuff, but they really just don't stop.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
They're some of the craziest athletes ever. They're hardcore people.
But also the lovely, like you've got football or soccer players or whatever, that like they're all not, they don't have a good rep of being nice people, and like but rugby players are all just stand up lovely people. Like at the end of the games, they all celebrate together. Like they're all just proper nice people.
I love that.
I've seen Cape Town that like 2 weeks ago there was like a Springbok All Black game in Cape Town. Oh my word, it was like so. Springboks won, but it was like a
Let's
complete
go.
chaos in town. Like separating, like it was like All Blacks, Springboks mix. Like oh my word, it was like you can't. It was just insane. I was like, this is insanity.
How
It was insane.
were you in South Africa for the World Cup when the World Cup was there?
Sorry?
Were you in South Africa during the World Cup a few years ago, like in 2010?
Oh, the football.
Yeah,
the football World Cup he's talking about.
So I was actually in Cape Town. Yeah, I was. Yeah, that's why the stadium that's now like Greenbond Stadium was built for the football.
Yeah.
So we've got like a very famous rugby stadium in Cape Town because the Newlands, and it was like a big deal when they closed that rugby stadium and said now everyone has to like play rugby at Greenpoint Stadium now because like it doesn't have the history and all that stuff. So we're freaking out. So yeah. But like Greenpoint Stadium is nice because you can like they did like the fan walks for the football. So they were like at some of the squares, like people could watch there, and they had like bars outside and stuff. And so there was like fan walks that actually all go to the stadium. So now they do the same when there's rugby. So the waterfront is like across the stadium. So everyone meets like before the rugby game and then walk across and stuff.
I love that. I love those little traditions. Those are great.
It's cool. See, I don't like watching. I like going to football games. I like going to baseball games. Like watching baseball on TV is probably one of the most boring things in the world, unless it's the World Series. Like I'll watch the World Series. But like I feel like it's different like when you're actually at the stadium and you're going to the game. It's just like you get like that atmosphere and there's good food and there's some beer and like you know what I mean? Like
it's fun.
It's
like
just
social.
like yeah. There's no kids.
Talking about things like it has happened. Like a friend of mine, she's like super into rugby. Like she knows like all the players and all that stuff. And like she always tells the story because it happened a couple of times with me where like Springbok players. So we were at like a wine festival and like Springbok player were like standing next to me. Was like standing next to me at the bar and he was like chatting to us and I'm like, okay. And then my friend is like, do you know who you're talking to? And I'm like, no. And then I said to him, oh, you play rugby? And she's like, she still tells this story to everyone because he's very famous and I had no idea who he was.
I love that. That's great though. I'm sure that was like a great interaction for him because I'm sure he probably runs into people who know him all the time for so like a normal good conversation with someone. That's great.
It's like a breath of fresh air. He's like, this woman has no idea who I am.
Yeah. And I love that.
Talking about rugby. I was just like, okay.
I love that he didn't introduce himself, or he's not like, oh, you don't know me. I'm like, because Gilderoy Lockhart would have been if someone comes in and they're like acting like they don't know Gilderoy Lockhart, he'd be like, excuse me, do you want me to sign your book?
This is I, Gilderoy Lockhart.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Like he walks in.
You're welcome.
And announces
my
himself.
presence.
Right. Hey everyone, it's Gilderoy. Gilderoy.
He just carries around a microphone that he could just drop.
You'll have those announcers that the royal family used to have that would like trumpet and then announce them as they were.
He definitely has that.
Balls and stuff.
All right, well, that was a good chapter.
It was.